Chapter 10, Lucky to Be Alive, has a moment in it where I think it could also be called The Kindness of White Women, because what happened...
Kindness of a white woman.
Yes. Oh, good call. The kindness of a single white angel. You go to the bar.
Yeah, that moment after Craig kicked me out, I had nowhere to go, so, you always want to go to somewhere that's familiar, so I thought I'll go to the bar, right? It's right down the street. It's a place where you're always welcome. So I kind of
Valley Tavern.
Valley Tavern, Plymouth. Shout out to the Valley Tavern. We used to go there for karaoke on Wednesdays. It was ridiculous. Amazing time. So I go there and I ask for a beer, tell the bartender, I don't have any money. No problem, baby. She knew me. I knew her. It was a neighborhood joint.
It's a very vulnerable moment from you.
Yeah, I thought that it was a kind gesture because of someone in such need, right? I could not afford a beer. I had no money, none. I had 3 kids paying child support. I had paid, 2/3 of the rent due. I was short $200. I get into a fight with a childhood friend who was nice enough to let me live with him. But after 2 years of living with him, I realized I overstayed my welcome. Kicked me out after an argument. I'm at a bar crying because I have nowhere to go. I have no home. I'm homeless. I have nowhere to sleep. The only viable option is my car. So I'm crying in my beer.
Do you remember what kind of beer it was?
No.
That would have been cool. That was a question I wrote down. It would have been very cool.
I do not remember the cheapest beer. No. No.
But something incredible happens next. Something that, I don't understand it.
I'm in the middle of the bar. I'm crying. Tears in my beer.
Great country song.
So, out of the blue, this blonde hair, blue-eyed, young white woman comes up, puts her hand on my back and says, "Stop crying. Are you okay?" I said, "No, I'm not okay." Hence the crying,
But that's wild. That is wild.
I never met her.
Exactly.
I don't know
who the truth.
I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
And she was like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I just got kicked out of my friend's house for being $200 short on rent when a mutual friend of ours just recently gave him $15,000 on 2 separate occasions. So he's sitting on $30,000 from a mutual friend of ours, and he's hounding me over the $200, and I'm trying to desperately get him. And I work in his father's real estate office. His father owes me $1,200 in late commission, and it's just, I got 3 kids. I got to pay child support. It's just a nightmare for me. And so all of the emotions came out. And that's why I was crying. And I basically said, "I have nowhere to sleep." She goes, "Don't worry, you can stay with me tonight." And I'm like, okay. I stopped crying. She's like, "Follow me home." So we drive a few blocks and she goes, "Wait, let me go in. I have to talk to my roommate because she has a child." I said, "Okay." And this is all like weird to me.
Yeah, it's weird to me. I can't believe the roommate said yes.
She did say yes. And I slept on the couch, and it's one of those emotional times when I'm just like taking it all in, like, wow. And I woke up the next day. I folded the blanket. I left a little thank you note.
Class. I like that right there. I was like, that's Lenny.
And I went to my car and I gathered enough change. I had no cash, none. I had a full tank of gas, no cash, and I found some change in my car.
And the shame of it is you had $1,500 in receivables. $1,200 in receivables.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get to it. So it's
right.
Just, you're in that moment.
I'm broke.
You're between a rock and a hard place.
Broke.
And homeless.
So I go to 7-Eleven because I scraped up enough money to get a coffee. And the guy behind the counter gives me his newspaper, right, that he read, right? I open that fucker up. Classifieds.
You're going to have to explain that to the young people.
Okay, classifieds in a newspaper is advertisements for services needed, right? I open it up. to classifieds, and immediately the first thing I see is handyman needed. So I called the number because it was like 8 a.m, and Aunt May. God bless Aunt May.
Kindred spirits.
Yeah, rest in peace, Aunt May. But this lady said, "Hello?" You know, her voice was like,
I was hoping you were going to do the impression.
That's great. She said, "How can I help you?" And I said, "I'm calling about the job." And she goes, "Can you come down for an interview?" And I said, "Yes." So I drive down to West Philly, Powelton and 40th Street, 40th and Powelton, in Powelton Village, West Philly. And I ring the bell, and the nurse comes out. She opens the gate. I go in. I interview with Aunt May, and told her I can help her. All manageable stuff. And she goes, "Great. When can you move in?" And I said, "Today. I can move in today." And that saved my life, man. You know?
And a little peek behind the curtain, the reason that house was available was because Aunt May hit it big as a gambler.
Yeah, she, during the interview, she was like, "You want to know how I got this house?" And I said, "Yeah, how'd you get this house?" She goes, "Poker. I won it in poker." And believe it or not, after I moved in, once a year, because I stayed there for like 4 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, 3-4 years. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Stayed there for like 3-4 years. I lived in a room.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
So what were you saying once a year, what would happen?
Oh, yeah. Once a year, I'd take her down to Atlantic City. But the horrible part is she didn't like highways. So I had to take her all the way down from West Philly to Atlantic City, taking the back road.
You can't take the expressway.
But no, it ended up being a good thing because we passed a whole bunch of wineries. I didn't know they had wineries in New Jersey. I had no idea. Strawberry wine, blueberry wine. I never knew. And the back roads, you pass all these wineries. Amazing.
Did that lead into, you're a bit of a wine aficionado these days?
No, I was, when I was a kid, we drank Wild Irish Rose.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that story. I love that story.
No, I actually, in part of my quest to be sophisticated, right? I thought that, because I seen it on Dynasty, I see people drinking wine, right? I thought that was a classy thing to do. So I learned how to drink wine. As a matter of fact, this is not in the book, but I once passed my introductory sommelier exam, right? Through blind tasting and stuff like that. I used to be able to tell you where the wine came from, narrow it down to the vineyard and the winemaker. It was incredible. I don't remember that information. I didn't retain that information, but I love wine. I've been to several different wine regions in the world.
What would make me really happy would be if eventually you have a glass of wine with like Patrick Duffy, who was famously on Dynasty. That would be a great close there. So there's two other things I want to get to in here, but one of them is, I'm curious, do you remember what you were wearing to the interview with Aunt May?
No.
Were you dressed for real estate, or were you dressed
casual clothes?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious about that.
No.
The other thing is, what's padlock living?
Oh my God. When you live in a room in a house, right? This was a 6-bedroom home. And, padlock living is when you leave for the day, you have to put a padlock on your door to your room. Otherwise, you come back and some things could be missing because other people are living in the house too. It's almost like a hostel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And everything I owned was in that room. Everything.
Not everything, because you had to go back and get the CDs, which is where the last thing I wanted you to talk about happens.
Yeah.
You're almost killed again.
Yeah. I called Craig, said, "Hey, I got to come get some of my stuff." I took 2 trips, and on the last trip, I had a crate of CDs and DVDs, right? And I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean to leave the CDs and DVDs on the back of the trunk. I just didn't mean to. I was just not in the right frame of mind.
And by the way, this meant not having that meant you couldn't listen to music or watch movies because of the time period this is set in.
That's right. That's right. It was very important to have that material. So I get in the car and I drive a couple of blocks and I make a right turn and boom, I hear a, you know what I mean? So I look outside and it's my DVDs and CDs all over the frickin' road. You know what I'm saying? So I pull into the driveway, I get the crate, I start packing them. Next thing I know, beep, 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 like a horn blaring. I see lights coming right at me. I hear brakes screeching. I see and smell hot metal. And then a flash of red light, which is a brake light. The car missed my head by inches. And being shocked, I jumped up, into the oncoming traffic.
Yeah, you stand up on a median.
I stand up, I back up, I'm like, and I hear another screeching and a horn. It's a car coming in the opposite direction. I put my hands out to stop it, and boom, it hits me. I fall back, hit the ground hard. Man, let me tell you something. The pain shot up my back, my neck, my arms, everything. It was burning. I was on fire. I get up. The lady gets out the car. Are you okay? Of course I'm not okay. I'm like a zombie, right? I get my crate.
Yeah, there's another bit of pain that you say in the book, your pride.
My pride was shattered, right? That was, they can read that and man, you're giving out all my...
No, I'm not.
So, I get my crate of CDs and DVDs. I put it in the car and I go to the bar where my sister was a bartender at the time. I do a shot. And a beer, and I'm just like shaking. I was almost killed, right, by two cars. So I get in my car, I head back to Aunt May's house, and I just bawl out, man. I cried myself to sleep. And it was, when you spend a lifetime of being lonely, right, of feeling unsafe, your whole environment growing up, you feel unsafe. When you're alone, in a room after almost being killed again, right? It's heavy, man. It hits you and you just cry, man. And I needed that cry, but I felt unsafe. You see what I'm saying? My whole life, I felt unsafe. Like that's an unnerving feeling. I can't settle into who I am because I feel unsafe. And in my darkest days, man, I was alone by myself dealing with this shit. Now, I could have called a friend. I could have called my mom. And there were certain times when I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I would call my cousin Reggie Roberts, friend of mine at the time, Kurt Henning was there for me. A couple other people were there for me. But a lot of times it was me dealing with this alone. And I'm lucky to have gotten out of it.
And I'm going to squeeze in this last piece. There's a key word that you say in your dark moment where you're thinking about your future and what you want. And clear as a bell, suddenly there's an allusion to Teresa because there's a part that says an educated wife.
Absolutely.
You knew then what your goals were. In your darkest moments, you were still dreaming.
I had dated a lot of women, and a lot of them were not educated. And the problems that I had with them were probably because they were not an elevated thinking type of person. And so I was like, you know what? The hell with this, man. I'm just going to date educated women. I wanted more. I wanted more of a conversation. I wanted more of an emotional intelligence situation. You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, because I had yet to, finish college, the only way that I am going to get to where I want to be is to be surrounded by people who were people that that had what I wanted. And education was something that was very important to me. And so I have spent a lifelong journey getting educated. So.
We'll see you in chapter 11. Not bankruptcy.